Coming to you from the Apogee Graphics Studios, this is the Business and Beyond podcast on Next Gen Media. I'm Ashton.
And I'm Tony.
You're listening to episode 30 of the Business and Beyond podcast.
30, the dirty 30.
Yeah, and this is the first time we've done a show in consecutive weeks since...
It's like November?
I think September, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we did one a month for...
Yeah, all those the holiday months got us. We took the holidays off and then got out of habit. Yeah,
so hopefully if
I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be back into I'm glad to be back into a groove now. You know, you feel like you can continue on that momentum every week, and I'm excited.
Yeah, so
I'm even more excited.
Hopefully you missed
I've been talking to my buddy Anthony, and he is going to come back on the show. We're going to get that scheduled soon.
Good friend of the show.
Good friend of the show. We can get him back on. And Tyler, you guys haven't seen him, man. It's conflicting schedules. Tyler will be back in studio hopefully next week. If not, in the coming weeks, he'll be back too.
Yeah, and thank you for listening to us. However you're listening to us, whatever podcast platform we're on, various ones, just about all of them.
YouTube's gotten very popular.
And YouTube, speaking of YouTube, shout out to Jeff, who watched us last week. And he said, man, we can't have drinks out and not mention them. It's like the elephant in the room.
Right.
We're just sitting there drinking, and
Well,
they want to know what we were drinking.
Yeah.
So today, if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're listening to, if you can see, here's my cup. It's not really in the frame as much. This is actually homemade whiskey.
It's yours. Homemade Tennessee.
Yeah,
Tennessee style.
A little whiskey barrel that I got for Christmas that I've been brewing some of this, or I guess brewing's not the right word. Distilling.
Well, I don't even, is it distilling? I mean, it's
just aging, really.
Yeah.
You're just mixing it and aging it.
in the barrel.
This is the second batch coming out a little bit better. We're hoping the third one is a lot better.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
fine tuning it. Yeah, it is good.
And last week I was drinking Woodford Reserve. I don't know what you were drinking. I don't remember. Mostly coffee.
Yeah.
It depends. Right now is a very appropriate time to drink in the time of the recording. Normally, who knows when we record, we try to have a drink.
Yeah.
But I think last week it was like Sunday, 11 o'clock to noon.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a weird time to drink. But right now it's Friday night.
It just didn't feel appropriate to be on without having a drink.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we've had a show in the 30 shows now where we haven't had a drink.
It's in the bio.
Yeah.
That we're having Not that these are cocktails.
No, that was from day one when we talked about this. The very first meeting we had about doing this podcast, it was, we're going to sit back, we're going to drink, we're going to enjoy ourselves. We'll talk a little business, but it's going to be on a fun level.
I think
like we said before, this isn't your granddad's business show.
I think when we were trying to name the show, a few of the ideas had to do with alcohol.
Yeah,
but we thought it sounded too much like we're alcoholics or something.
We didn't want to go over the top.
No, for the most part, this is the only time I drink. Sometimes if I'm hanging out, I'll have one, but jumping into the episode for today, if you haven't heard, I mean, you probably have.
You have to, right?
GameStop deals that are going on, at least at the time of this recording, in the stock market. And a couple of
the last
other,
time I saw, it was like $500 a share.
Yeah, and it started going back down. That's all fine, whatever. I think it's more funny than anything. I mean, yeah, it's controversial what's happening. I'm not going to get into the big details. I'm not a huge stock market expert, so I'm not going to bore you with the details or insult the people that actually know what's going on. But it kind of got to me, this one interview, this hedge fund manager, what was his name? Leon Cooperman. We're going to play a little clip from interview from him, a little short clip.
The reason the market is doing what it's doing is people are sitting at home getting the checks from the government, okay? And this fair share is a bullshit concept. It's just a way of attacking wealthy people, and, you know, I think it's inappropriate. We all got to work together and pull together.
You have not heard this, is that correct?
I have not.
You have not. I was going to show you, but you wanted to have a true reaction.
Play it again.
Play it again. Okay.
The reason the market is doing what it's doing is people are sitting at home getting the checks from the government, okay? And this fair share is a bullshit concept. It's just a way of attacking wealthy people, and, you know, I think it's inappropriate. We all got to work together and pull together.
Okay, first off, thing you get from this. He is a billionaire.
Yeah.
And he said, attacking wealthy people, you know, when you hear billionaires cry about stuff,
Yeah.
which I know their lives aren't perfect. I'm not getting into that. And I'm not really taking sides. I really don't care about the people mostly using Robinhood, which I think using apps like that, those apps are kind of rigged against you in investing. It only lets you do so much, so many things. You can't even buy stocks, you can only sell. And I think it's more creative for the person who doesn't really know how to work the stock market. And I'm not saying everyone who uses it doesn't. It just may be an easy way for them to use it. But when you start saying we need to come together, we need to well, let's see what he said. I'm just going to go to the end of that.
Bullshit concept.
Let me try that again.
It's just a way of attacking wealthy people, and I think it's inappropriate. We all got to work together and pull together.
We all got to work together and pull together.
So what he's attacking this group, this Reddit group, or anyone that's gone out and saying that they are sitting back taking their stimulus checks and just investing. I mean, we all understand the concept of the more shares, that when the shares become popular and they're bought, the price goes up, and that's what they pretty much did. They jacked the price up.
And it's controversial more because I think the people trying to do it were trying to do some sort of takeover. Like I said, I'm no expert. I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but it's a controversial thing that was happening. But what he said right there, he may have been specifying specific people, but he kind of broadened it to sitting there with your stimulus checks at home. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's how you become rich, for the most part, is investing. Not everyone's a big CEO or an athlete that just makes millions of dollars a year. That's why there's so many millionaires in the U.S. You think, how could there be so many? Most of them get that by investing money. So to tell somebody just a normal person who doesn't have very much money, who's sitting at home, categorizing that as somebody who just sits at home with their stimulus check, trying to make money, and trying to, coming from somebody who has a lot of money, it may have came off the wrong way. That may not be how he intended it to be. But what he said, we need to all band together. Well, that's convenient you're saying that now that your money is going away. What that made me think of is back in 2008 recession, the financial crisis, which affected us quite a bit because I graduated in 2007, you graduated in 2004. That's kind of like the beginning of the working years of our life. Yeah. And most jobs I've had when I've gone to them with the intent to stay a long time and work for the company, I hear the same thing. Well, we used to pay more. The economy really hurt us, but now we're going to get back to that eventually. But right now, our benefits suck. Pay is a lot lower than it used to be. It's like we've been kind of dealing with that. Well, I'm sure billionaires and millionaires lost some money in that. Mm-hmm. But when you're telling a millionaire that he lost, $5 million, $10 million, whatever, and he still has a few million left, it's a little different than people losing their jobs or not being able to find jobs. And luckily, I've never had an issue being able to find a job, but I hear that a lot. It's like, oh yeah, we used to have this thing if you stay with the company, a retirement plan inside the company, but we don't do that anymore. It's just grandfathered for people who've been here that long. It's like there's a lot of benefits in just normal jobs that are gone now because of that. And
companies just had to restructure.
You can nickel and dime it a lot, but the billionaires kind of caused that in what they did. And
and now this guy, he's crying, and I'm sure a lot of them hedge fund guys, they're crying about this
because they lost
because they got screwed. They got screwed in their own game by their own rules.
Exactly. And like I said, apps like Robinhood, and I'm not familiar with a lot of them, but they're really rigged because what they did is they stopped and said, no, you can't do it anymore. Yeah. It's rigged in favor of the big guys. Like, yeah, you can. We want people to invest money because that puts more money in the stock market. And really, he said in that interview, a different part of that interview, but I wasn't going to pull a huge clip, but 80% of all stocks is owned by 20% of the people. So they want that money to go in there because they know how to do it better than most people who are on Robin and things like that. Like, yeah, just put more money in here. We'll take more money. You can invest. You'll get a little bit just in interest and things like that, but they're going to take most of the money.
Yeah.
It makes their paychecks go up because they already own the stock. So, yeah, it's hard for a billionaire to get sympathy from me, especially when he's crying and whining and saying we need to be in this together. When, like you said, they're doing the exact same thing hedge funds are doing. That's what hedge funds are for. He's doing the exact same thing, but it's attacking them. And like, you don't know what you're doing. What's the point of, what are you doing? And then he's getting mad because they're beating him.
No, the funny part is a lot of these guys kind of knew what they were doing. I listen to the Dave Ramsey show quite often during the day during work, and I was listening today. I believe it was from yesterday's show. I was listening to the recording today. So a guy called in to get Dave's opinion on what he should do because he invested $5,000 into GameStop. I guess weeks ago, he bought in early. He invested $5,000 and he cashed out the day before he called in the show. So
as soon as
the ACH, it was pending in his bank already. Yeah, he sold it. $47,000 he made on his $5,000 investment on GameStop. So he sold at the right time.
That sounds fishy.
Before it started dropping.
Sounds like some insiding trader crap.
Yeah.
Like, you're just going to throw $5,000 into there.
Even we would understand that, hey, I'm going to buy in low, and when it gets up so high, okay, I'm selling. I'm getting out now. Because it's coming to... You all know it's not going to stay. I mean, GameStop has lost money for... I don't know the exact... Like, the last 2 or 3 years, they've lost money.
Maybe that's a thing. I mean, $5,000 is a lot, but that's a thing where when it gets so low... Do you think they're going to go out of business? You're like, maybe they'll transition to something, so you buy it low, and if you lose, you don't lose that much.
I mean, GameStop stocks got up to what I saw last was $500. They're probably not worth $20 a share. So, yeah, I mean, it's a company that's going out. I mean, we see this we posted this week CC's. You see AMC struggling. That was another one of the stocks that were climbing as well with GameStop was AMC theaters. Because movie theaters, I mean, with the COVID-19, a lot of these companies, and with just technology in general, that technology is pushing these guys out. The GameStop is the Blockbuster of
I was gonna bring Blockbuster up because I'm no expert. I don't know where the next step of GameStop would be in terms of streaming or wherever you would go with video games, but kind of leaping into the main point of this episode is no pun intended, when companies can know when to make a leap, whether it's to start your business or transition or adapt. And I think Blockbuster is a great example of, you think about, is it the right time to do it, or should you do it yet? It's you need to do it quicker. And Blockbuster tried, and I think Blockbuster exists in some entity. I think there's still one more store in Alaska or Oregon or something, but I think Dish Network bought Blockbuster. Maybe it's just the name. I don't know what entity they exist in, but that's how they demand.
They're using that name, yeah.
But they bought them out, and that's when you have Dish Network. I haven't had them for a few years, but that's your on-demand movies or Blockbuster movies. But when Netflix came out, when they were mailing DVDs, it was before the streaming part of it, and Redbox came out. I think Blockbuster just stuck to their guns and instead of adapting, and eventually I think one time I saw a Blockbuster, like a little Redbox thing, but it was a Blockbuster. Like they had transitioned to that, but it was way too late. Yeah. And that's kind of thing I think where GameStop is. It's like they have to do something. I don't know.
I mean they are, to a sense of, you can purchase the download codes online. So they have adapted to away from the disc. But the base of their business, and I think where they really make the money, is on the trade-in and buybacks. And then the resale of those, their markup on the resale of that is tremendous. And that's where the base of their business is. I don't know if they're going to be as profitable selling new game digital downloads. It makes it tough because you can buy it directly from PlayStation, Xbox.
They're not going to sell it cheaper
Stadia,
than anybody else.
Online, Steam.
If that's who you just happen to use and you love GameStop, maybe you'll do it. But there's no benefit. I mean, I'm sure they'll add like little packages of this and that, because I know when you pre-order games from them, they'll throw in this. you get it earlier, or
Mhm.
you know, they always have little deals going on. But when you're talking about downloadable games, it's not used games that you can get. I like to go to GameStop and buy used games
Yeah.
really cheap, older games. But it's if you've ever done trade-ins with GameStop, it's hard to feel sympathy for them.
Yeah.
When you take trade-ins and it's
Mhm.
like you get
Yeah, we'll give you
$2 back,
Yeah.
and oh, we'll give you $5 if you do in-store credit. And did you
Oh,
see
but
that?
you want to buy a used game? It's $37.
Yeah, yeah, and that's I tried, or I didn't try. We went to. My son has a Nintendo Switch, and one of the controllers broke on it. So I've been looking out for new ones. But they're like $80. So we eventually bought them for him at GameStop the other day because he won an award at school. So we're just gonna do it because used ones are like 30 something. I'm like, I'll just spend 80 and get brand new ones. I don't get used ones that probably have the same issue. And I was in there and I thought about going and buying Grand Theft Auto 5. Is that the latest one? Even though it's been out for 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, I think so.
I used to have that on Xbox and I have a PlayStation 4. And man, used it's still like $40 used. So I guess new it's still
Yeah,
normal.
for Christmas, Landon got a lot of parts and built himself a PC, a gaming PC, and he bought Grand Theft Auto on it, and it was still, I think he even had a deal, like an after Christmas deal, and it was still like $30.
I mean, I know until they make a new one, which I don't
Yeah.
know for sure that they are. I keep seeing updates and all kinds of stuff that, hey, you can do this online now. Like, they're just pushing everything online, which, not to get off topic, I don't like playing Grand Theft Auto online because you're playing around with other people and you're trying to do your own thing.
Yeah.
And people's coming around with the plane just bombing everybody and
Yeah.
just, like, that, you know.
I'd like to talk to Anthony about this some with his gaming trailer, and I know he does a lot of business with GameStop to help stock his game selection.
Mm-hmm.
And see what his opinion is on this topic and where he sees GameStop trending to. And
Yeah, because you gotta think that would affect him too. I mean,
Yeah.
that's, you know, when you just want to buy a new game. I'm not a huge gamer, but I like going and getting, like I said, the used games. And when I got my PlayStation, I had an Xbox for so long, and they don't have a deal with. I guess Microsoft doesn't have a deal with MLB or whoever to make baseball
yeah.
games. So I'd had a baseball game in forever. So I went, and it was, I think it was 2018 when I got my PlayStation. And I bought 2016 MLB The Show 16 or whichever. I don't know if it was the show or the other one, but anyways, it was a 2016 version for like $10. Like I don't care about having the newest, and I mean I'm not gonna play a baseball game that much. Like Madden, I have the newest Madden, but that's something like I can't just go do that. Like I guess you could go check on the PlayStation Store or whatever and see if you could download some of those old games. Maybe it'd be cheaper, but it's not. I mean, as much as we knock GameStop for not giving you the right amount of credit you think you deserve on used games, they have some really cheap games. I mean, like Grand Theft Auto, but you can find some used games for $5-10. If you just want a new game, let's spend $10.
Nostalgic factor to it also, to be able to go in and buy those older games and play. Yeah, I think that's a part. It's different, man. But we're talking from a sense where we had those games, and the next generation of gamers, they haven't had the true disc games that much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't even know if my son owns a disc game anymore. Everything has been downloaded directly to his PlayStation or his PC. So that's just becoming a non-factor for the next generation.
That's the only discs I have are used ones, and then one that came with it. But every game I had, I just downloaded it.
Yeah, it's just different.
Yeah, and most people play online now. Like I'm sure Landon plays everything online, which I sometimes do, but a lot of times I'm just not a good enough gamer, or I don't play near enough to compete with these little 12-year-olds playing online.
Yeah,
it's like I don't want to play online. I just want to play, franchise mode Madden or something. And now those old games, buying them, I don't know when the cutoff is if you can even play Madden 19 online now, or if you have to play Madden 2020. But that's part of it too, is they have to keep up with online. And some people will go buy the game. Like I've never been this. I buy a game, I'm keeping the game for the most part. And if I play it, sometimes I do. If I don't, I don't. But some guys will buy the new game, play it, beat it, and then come back and sell it and get stored credit. Like you're just done with it. You don't. So I'm different like that. But like I said, I'm not a gamer.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned earlier about entrepreneurs knowing when to, when to make the leap or the jump. And what we mean by that is like to go from a full time, from it just being a side hustle for you to being that is your full time, right? That's what you're talking about. You know, what do you think? When do you think? I mean, at what point is it the right time?
There's a lot of factors that go into it. I mean, just use you as an example. When we were talking about the recession, of financial crisis, you quit your job. What year was that? 2009 or something?
2010.
2010, right in the middle of it. You quit your full-time job and went out on it, and you eventually, I don't know if did you come back to that same company or?
Yeah, yes, I did.
Either way, you eventually came back, but it's not necessarily because it failed. You just, I guess, got burnt out. Or just
yeah, a lot of that. So I think that, yeah, you're right. There are a lot of factors. You know, obviously, probably the number one factor is the financial side of it.
Yeah.
You know, what financial burdens are you willing to take as an entrepreneur to jump out there? Do you have the working capital to sustain, you know, years? And I had done that for 2 years. From 2010 through 2012. I think it might have actually been even a little over 2 years. And the financial side, I mean, it was okay. I'm not gonna say it was great. I mean, we were sustaining. We had built, and that's another part of it is building your personal life around what you're gonna make. So you have to adjust, just like you would with your full-time job. You adjust your lifestyle based on what your income is. And you have to make sure when you're going to make that leap, your lifestyle's adjusted for entrepreneurship and the money that you're going to be making.
Yeah.
So if you're going to take a pay cut to come and have all this freedom of running your own business, make sure your lifestyle, you know, adapts with that as well.
Make sure everybody's on board too, wife and kids. Which
yeah, and your family.
I don't remember if you had Landon at the time, but you definitely
did. We had Landon, and then actually had Addison in the middle of it. I had been doing it like 6 months, and you know, so actually, like right when I quit my full time job, I'm like, okay, this is what we're doing. We found out we were pregnant with Addison, so it was like, oh,
you're
okay,
all in.
Yeah,
and
now
that's
we have
another
to be
thing.
all in.
If you're gonna go for it, go for it. Don't be halfway in, halfway not.
Yeah.
Wondering if you made the right decision. I mean, do your due diligence, research, pray, whatever you're supposed to do. Figure out what you got to do. That's fine, and that's when you question yourself. Is that gap right before you take the leap? But once you take the leap, go for it. Don't. Did I make a bad decision? Because
you're right.
You have to use all your mental power.
You need to see it through.
Yeah.
You need to see it through. But you also, going into that, like I was saying, you have to know what your financial situation is and how much risk you're willing to take. You need to set a number. You know, if you're jumping out there with someone else's money, which is dangerous, you know, with someone else's capital, or you've saved up your own, have the threshold and know, okay, when I hit this point, if it's not kicking, we need to make some moves. We need to do something different.
And there's not one right or simple answer. It depends. If you're starting a restaurant, that's a whole other thing, because you're probably in debt. I mean, if you have the money just to buy a building and start a restaurant, then, you're going to have employees. There's a lot that goes into it. That's something you can't necessarily do by yourself.
Well, and along with the financial part is the emotional part that ties with that also. And that really, most people see the financial side of it first. And I think probably the most important part is the emotional side of it. And for me, that was what pushed me back into a full-time, you know, corporate job, you know, type position, like going back out, is I had a hard time at that age. It was like, I was under 25.
Yeah.
So, or maybe right at 25, that I had a hard time dealing with the emotional part of it. For me, it was, okay, I'm putting everything into the business I'm building up, and I have all this work, and now I have to go perform it. I'm not selling, and now, okay, we're going down because I haven't been selling. Now I got to get out and sell.
Yeah, that's a weird cycle when it's you, you had a partner, but
it makes it tough when you have those ups and downs, because when you have the ups, you get so high, and you thrive off that, adrenaline's going, and things feel so great. But when you get into that low and it's like, okay, this money's got to drag out another month because I don't have any, substantial work lined up. That's tough. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't realize that. They just think, I just need all this money. I need all this money. And you do need a certain amount of money, but that's something every business has to figure out what you need and your personal situation. Do you have a lot of debt that you're having to pay back? Or are you debt free and all your money can go back into the business and you just take small amounts out?
Yeah, and that's what they think when they budget. They say, okay, I can live off this amount, which can work, but when you get a short paycheck at work, it's like, okay, we have to tighten our belts a little bit, but that next paycheck's coming regardless. But now a piece of equipment goes out, or one of your employees breaks their leg or something while at work.
Yeah.
Just little stuff like that, and a lot of people don't realize that, and maybe by the time they get into doing the research and they figure out, okay, there's insurances and weird taxes once you decide what kind of business you want to be, whether LLC, sole proprietorship, whatever, there's different taxes. It costs different things, the government's going to take their slice out of it. So I think a lot of times people have a passion and then they want to just go for it. Then they start researching and figuring out. It's a lot with they don't really want to deal with. And that is, especially when you have a full-time job and you're dealing with all this at night when you're tired and stressed and it's just overtime and working, and it can become easy to say, I'm just going to take a couple days off. But when you have your own business,
when it's yours,
that doesn't happen.
Yeah, you're working all the time. But also, and we don't want to scare anyone by throwing all this at you and be like, oh man, I didn't even think about the taxes. I didn't think about all these other implications to the business. Don't feel like when you make the leap, you have to know it all. You can sit back and build a business plan, and think you've got it all figured out and all your ducks in a row. And then you jump out there and you get hit in the face and you're like, oh shit, what happened?
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. And that's going to happen. That happens with every business. It doesn't matter how much you plan. There's always going to be something else that comes up. So don't feel like you have to have it all figured out when you make that leap. And that's why we push to create a side hustle with what you want to do, with whatever you're passionate about. Create that side hustle and start working it slowly. And then you put a little more in and a little more in and a little more, and you learn more as you go. But you still have that full-time position to lean back on until you know it's time.
You get your foot in the water, you get your foot wet, and figure out if it's something you want to do.
And that's something, too, that goes into it is what truly makes you happy. And that's probably the first thing you should really think about. Are you happy in your full-time job? Like, what about your full-time job do you dislike that makes you want to go out and run your own business? Are you sick of just the 9 to 5? Are you sick of working for other people, working under the man? Is it the freedom, the time, that you want more flexibility? What is it that truly makes you happy? And make sure when you have your business or your side hustle make sure that that's going to fulfill those needs. Because if you jump into something that's not fulfilling the needs that you need, like the reason you want out of your full-time job, if you don't figure that out, you're going to get into it and you're like, man, I'm really not happy doing this either. And then you're stuck.
I'm glad you said full-time, more time and flexibility, because those are two different things.
Yeah.
My job now, I'm busy all the time, but I have the flexibility to choose when to push that.
Yeah.
If you just have a 9 to 5 job in an office, you're busy 9 to 5. That's when you're taken up. And when you're flexible, you may be just as busy. But be careful about wanting to be your own boss if you've never been a boss before, if you've never been a manager, because that's stuff like, do you really want to be your own boss? Ask your boss if he likes being your boss. Yeah, there's a lot of little things that go into it that, like, I try to give my managers and upper people, supervisors, bosses, the benefit of the doubt most of the time when they tell you something. Like, well, yeah, that sucks, but I'm seeing it from my perspective, not their perspective. And I'm not saying they're always right or never right, but it's something you have to take into account, because that's not your position. When you see the grittiness of it, you see behind the scenes, you see how the sausage is made, per se. It can be scary, and that's more. say, like you said, we don't want to scare you, but that's more of a warning where if just take it into account and do the research you need to do, figure out what you need to figure out. But as you were saying, you don't need to know everything to go into it, and that's a big secret in life.
Yeah.
Everybody's faking something.
Yeah.
Everybody's faking it to some extent. You may fake it till you make it really works. I mean, don't fake it all. I mean, you got to know little stuff, but maybe you're not good at accounting or good at this or good at that, but you're just faking it till you make it, so you can hire somebody to do that. But you have to kind of know what you're doing.
Yeah,
so you have to research it.
You need to test the waters and know, and that's why for it being a side gig and you just putting a few hours a week, or someone, Anthony, our friend, he puts a lot of hours in. I mean, if he's not working his full-time job, he's working a side hustle. So use that and test it, and then you learn and you build up, and you build inventory, you build clients, you build additional funding. You can do a lot of that along the ways and learn. But yeah, absolutely, when you jump right out there, there's going to be a lot that you realize you didn't know, but you'll figure it out.
Yeah, there's no way to tell until you go do it. You can read all you want, you can talk to people, but you're not going to truly know until you do it. And I think could be a good idea if your financial being allows it, or your time is, if that's what you're going to do, that's your end game, go get a job at a company like that and learn the ins and outs of it. Talk to the managers, learn what you can before you do it. I know my wife and I talked about starting a restaurant. I mean, more me than her. And when you watch Bar Rescue, you're like, oh, I can do that. I'm watching that idiot can do it, and you're getting all the good ideas. I can start a restaurant. I mean, down the road when we're older, like maybe a retirement thing. And first thing I tell her is, okay, when we do this, because we want a bar too, we can send ourselves to like bartending school. Like, I don't want to be the bartender, but to own it, and I want to work in it. I don't want to just own it. You need to be able to do everything to help out.
Well, we talk about it a lot. You have to know enough about it to know if the people you hire are doing it correctly.
Yeah,
so
and
for
people
you to go to bartending school or something like that, in that scenario, to understand if drinks are being made properly, if pours are correct, you have to do it yourself. You can't just assume that whoever you hire is doing it right.
And you should hire somebody for specific jobs if that's not your passion, if you're not very good at it, but you need to know how to do it, because you lean too much on that person and something happened. They go on vacation, they call in sick, they quit. God forbid something bad happens, and then you're stuck, not only whether you know how to do it or not, but they have things done a certain way or files done a certain way, and then now your whole job or your part of your business, what you're doing, gets put on hold, and you can't pay attention to that because you have to figure this out. You have to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and going along with all of that, getting into it is, and what you talked about with the bar, restaurant type thing, is, are your skills for what you want to do, are they honed in enough? So at what level are your skills for what you want to be in? So someone like me in graphics, I would like to say my skills are high. I've been doing it for over a decade. So I understand the industry and the business. Something like a bar and restaurant, what is your skill level for that? Do you have a good enough understanding what it takes to run that? Or is that something okay, I need to get my skill level up for that? Like you said, bartending school, or, working with chefs or food preppers or something, you know what I mean? Like that's important as well, to know what skill level are you at before you make that leap.
And you have to understand that everybody has, they picture what their end goal is in mind. And it's end goal for a reason. It happens at the end. So you have an idea of when you start your business, whether you want a storefront or you want to do this or that, because you probably have a business you're looking up to, a specific company or whatever you have in mind. This is what I want it to look like. And you make that leap, and it's not going to be like that at first. Like when I got my CDL and started, when I was driving a truck, some people really enjoy that and look at it and say, I want to do that. And some people, I did it mostly out of necessity because I need to make more money and we're having a baby. But you see it and you're like, yeah, that's what I want to do. But you get into it and you're a newbie. Forget the fact that you're learning all new stuff. You're stressed out all the time. Just little things that a year down the road, it's just second nature and you're not even thinking about. But then you're getting crappy loads. You're not really getting paid that much. You're getting stuck with bad loads, or you're not getting loads because they want to take care of their senior drivers and give them miles because they don't want them to quit, because they don't just want to be a company full of new drivers. There's a lot of little things that go into it. So whether it's you starting doing a certain job that you had a completely different image of, or your business, it takes time because you have to have the experience. You have to have your skins on the wall. Per to say, I guess it depends on the industry. But unless you just have a lot of money up front, you're not going to have what those businesses have. But those businesses didn't have what they had when they started.
Right.
I mean, there's a good example of there's a picture on social media. It was Jeff Bezos. When he started Amazon in 1993, he's sitting there at a desk with a little band that says Amazon.com, and now he's the richest man in the world.
Yeah.
But back then, he was. I mean, that was 30-something years ago.
You see all of these, Grant Cardone, he's the real estate mogul. And I think he might even been the one that posted that I saw, and it was like him, Apple, Amazon, and it was them in front of all these small homes with garages.
Yeah.
It was like, this is where all these businesses started, in a garage.
And you're picturing, you want to start this big company, and one day I want it to be Apple, and you're saying you want this, and then you get romanticizing that, and you want to make the leap too early and say, well, we need an office. We're not Apple. And like, well, when did Apple get their office? That's a rhetorical question.
Today, people are too scared to say they work out of their home, that their business is based out of the home for whatever reason, or online only, or something that. Yeah, they have to fake it as, I have this, I got this location, I have this warehouse, or whatever the case is. And
podcasting used to be like that.
Yeah.
I know when I first got into the radio type industry, I was embarrassed to say either I was on something pre-recorded or it was online radio.
Yeah.
Because that was kind of looked down upon.
Yeah.
It's different now. I mean, every radio personality retires and gets a podcast now.
Yeah, and they set up a studio in their home.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's something like this standalone studio here in your backyard.
Yeah.
Right?
That's exactly what it is.
And we're not scared to tell you guys that. Our other studio was in my office, essentially, but we have a spare room that I was using for an office. We set up a studio there. And anyone that came to it thought it was dope as shit.
Yeah.
Nobody really cared.
We could try to say, like, well, we need just to get into a studio.
Yeah.
When really that would not benefit us at all. It would cost us more money. I guess we wouldn't have to own all this equipment, but I've been in situations where we had a show that was in a studio, and like we could make more money or spend less money if we just did it on our own. There's no reason for that, because we can bring the exact same quality, better quality in some situations, doing this all ourselves. And it was pretty scary. If we go back to our first episode, we probably sound a lot different, less professional, I would guess, less comfortable. I mean, and now we have these brand new mics. We're on YouTube now. We have cameras. We have all kinds of things set up that we didn't have on day one. And
believe it or not, when we started day one, we didn't know nearly what we thought we knew. And now we've realized we know a lot more about it. I mean, the cabling of this stuff. I mean, we had no idea some of the cables that you could get and ways you could, connect through the computer, through boards, through all this stuff. I mean, the inner workings of it, we didn't know all of it. We just started working on it slowly, right? We made that jump enough to say, okay, we can get this going. And now, okay, we want to upgrade. Okay, we had to do some research. We had to figure out how that was going to happen.
And it's not as much of a risk as some companies are making leaps, but there were times we were just frustrated, and we could have just been like, who cares? Because back then, our audience isn't what it is now. But 30 episodes in, if I'd be telling you we'd have all this stuff, I mean, it was less than 30 episodes, but have all this stuff in 30 episodes, like, well, do I want to do all that work and do 30 episodes to get there? I mean, to put a number on that, I guess, is different. If you can guarantee, hey, in 1 year you'll have this. But, I mean, this whole, what do you want to call it, production is completely different, night and day from day one, episode one.
And it's way beyond what we ever thought it would be. And we really, and that was probably a good thing on our part, we never put any pressure on ourselves to be anything more than what we just came out to be week in and week out. We didn't put pressure. Okay, we have to be here. Okay, we have to have this listenership. We have to do this. We never at any point have ever done that. We've seen the growth and we've been excited about it, but we never put that pressure on ourselves. Oh, our next show's got to be even better. Our next show's it is what it is, right?
I think a lot of it, we were comparing it to certain radio shows or certain podcasts, and we kind of got past that and became our own.
Yeah.
And that's...
Well, to
that's
start, we at least had ideas
Yeah.
of what we were, how we wanted to strive to be, like kind of what we were
That's good.
looking
You have to
to
have
follow.
something. I mean, because you don't want to reinvent the wheel. As much as everyone wants to do, invent the latest thing or start the best, next greatest meme.
Yeah.
Like, who knows what that's going to be? Who thought it was going to be Bernie Sanders sitting down in a chair
exactly.
and crazy mittens? Who thought that was going to be probably the biggest meme of 2021?
Yeah, that or McGregor.
Oh,
or them together.
Yeah. But you have to just step back and say, okay, we got to do what's worked. And you can research or do, I guess it just depends what industry you're in or what you're trying to do. That's good that you want to adapt and be the first to do something. But you don't want to just jump out there and take it. I mean, well, say you don't want to take a risk, because risk is where you can't play everything safe. You're never going to get the bigger rewards. Bigger risk, bigger reward. But you have to follow companies. Like with Rhino Sports, I looked up to Academy. That's kind of who I modeled after, but I didn't ever want to become Academy.
Right.
But you have somebody that you have in mind usually, because that's why you have a passion. You don't just think of it out of nowhere. But that's what we did. You have an idea of where you want to go.
Once you start to mold, like you said, you start to mold what you want it to become, what you want it to be. But you need something to strive for, and then you'll take the detours later on. You can't just come up with these bright ideas just out of nowhere. Most of the time, I won't say all the time. There are people that are like that, but it's a lot easier if you at least have that, like you said, academy you're looking toward. For me, being in the print industry, I followed a lot of places with either apparel printing or some of the big wrap companies, the big national, printing companies, and there were things that I liked and wanted to follow that they did, but then there were also things that I wanted to do on my own, and then I would follow more artists and craftsmen and making, other types of signage with wood or metal, and I wanted to kind of go there, not just the digital and print side. I wanted to have a little more artisanship to some of the products I offered as well. So I've kind of molded into, I have different branches of things that I do, right? From printing cornhole board, wraps on them, or, these big gaming, mats like mouse pads and things like that. There's a lot of other things we offer that we just enjoy to print and design.
Yeah, and sometimes people will get lost and, this is a great idea and nobody does it. Well, you're probably not that clever. It's not that nobody does it. It's never been tried. It's that somebody tried it and it just doesn't work. And maybe you can make it work. I was listening to a podcast about a lady that opened a pencil shop in Manhattan, and that's all she had, pencils. Like, people said, well, you can make it a writing utensil store and have expense, but that's all she did. She said, that's what I want, and it worked.
Number 2 pencil.
Yes. Well, there were different types of pencils, but collector's pencils and, artist pencils, but she made it work. And I'm not saying just take your crazy idea and do it, and you can say Ashton from the Business and Beyond podcast told me to do it, and he's liable, but it's not that it won't work, but you kind of have to have something like, maybe like you were talking about different prints, which I know you don't do a lot of them, but some of them it's like, okay, this is your day-to-day money. It's not something you want to do, but it's something you have to do.
Yep.
And you're not going to make a whole lot of money on it, but that pays the bills. And then your specialty stuff, which there's not going to be a lot of, that can't just pay the bills, but that's where your profit is.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to have that base and figure out what you are, and model yourself after them. Do the market research, and figure out what you want to do, because if you don't want to do that so-called bread and butter, then maybe it's not going to work. You can, obviously try.
Yeah.
But you have to have your bread and butter, your cheap stuff, the stuff that everybody does,
Right.
that you're not going to mark up because you really don't care that much. It's just, you're just doing little stuff, and then do your passion over here, because most people, when they have an established business, they'll say, yeah, I love it. I don't feel like I'm working a day in my life. That doesn't mean it's a vacation to them, or what you would think is working. There's still stress and the bad things that happen, and a lot of emotional things, like you said. But when you look back at it, you're like, yeah, I can handle that. Most people who love their jobs, it's not like they sit around and do nothing all day.
Yeah. Well, you and I haven't talked about this, so this will come out of left field for you. Something I've thought about for a little while now, and with my side hustle and just a lot of things and the way the economy is going, and just looking at some different options and maybe a different perspective on the side hustle, what we like to call that's, I don't know, maybe we haven't coined that, but that's what we call it, is your side hustle. Is what if your side hustle was your full-time job, and you just got a part-time job to help pay the bills, to help sustain that? So if you worked full-time on what we call your side hustle, what you really love to do, and then just go get you a part-time a few days a week just to keep some steady income coming in, versus the other way around, how we typically are seeing it, how we do it with full-time 40, 50, 60-hour week jobs, and then whenever you can find time, put into the side hustle.
We should find a term to coin that, because I think if you looked up the definition of side hustle, it wouldn't include things you're doing on the side that you're trying to make your full-time job. It'd be like Ubering and things like that. So maybe there's a term there that we can coin, that it's your side hustle you're trying to build into something bigger.
Yeah.
Which I know from hearing from you, sometimes your full-time job gets in the way of that. Mm-hmm. Not in the sense that you're just too tired to do things on the side, but you really have no extra time.
Physically don't have, yeah.
But that's what you want to do. You want to build it, and depending on what the downsides of going to a part-time job, like, do you have, I'm not asking you just in general, for people listening, do you have health benefits you have to worry about and things like that? I mean, if you're making enough money at your side hustle and you can even make more and build it more, I mean, I guess that's the only thing that matters. Can you pay your bills? Because that I feel like is the first question someone would ask you. If someone came to me and say, hey, am I ready to make the leap? Say, well, can you pay your bills and do all your, like you said, are you ready to sacrifice and pay yourself the amount that it takes? Like, maybe you can pay yourself and still do fun things and eat out and things like that. Great. But are you going to adjust your lifestyle to figure for what can you pay yourself?
Right.
And part-time jobs seem to, I mean, that is out of left field. That's a little different that we really haven't talked about on here.
We haven't.
But
and it's not something that I've thought about a lot, but I have thought about it some, thinking
that is a leap.
Partly for myself, just thinking, hey, is that a viable thing? How does that make sense? But something that we can, offer up. I know a lot of our listeners are entrepreneurs, and they do have side hustles that they're trying to build. And yeah, I mean, could that be a useful thing? And I will do more research on it personally. I mean, it's been more of an idea, not anything that I've looked into a lot. But I think if you're on that verge of, can I make the leap? Maybe that helps to lessen the blow.
Maybe it's a step.
Yeah, it's a step. It lessens that blow to take that leap. If it's hey, you know what? I'm going to go down to a 20-hour a week or less job. I'm just going to work weekends. Maybe you're going to Uber. Maybe you're going to Uber Eats or DoorDash or something like that. Maybe
Walmart
that would be
delivery.
Yeah, is that a thing now?
Yeah, the lady, or not the lady, it's not like we have our own lady, but we've had a lady can't come and deliver our groceries for us, and she has her whole family in her car. Kids, husband, they're just hanging out, and then she's just going. I don't know how much I only have experience in Ubering.
Yeah.
And now it may be different. It's been a couple of years, but that to me, I never thought was a viable full-time job just because of the wear and tear in your car. But it's a little extra money on the side. I don't know what Uber Eats or DoorDash.
But if you just needed something to help sustain,
And
or to help you in the process of building your business to something more.
And that's the thing where if your business is like, you can run it as a side hustle. You're running your business. You know, is it effective to put 20 more hours a week into your business and help it grow? Maybe it is, and you can do that. So it depends. Some businesses it's all or nothing. Like, you can run it a little bit to some extent, but if you're going to put more time in it, you have to just go all out.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like if you're going to make the leap and just quit your job and do that, well, maybe take a step back and just take a little bit less of a risk, so build it a little bit slower, and take a part-time job, and then you're still getting your normal income. If you think you can make up for the income you're losing in your side hustle, or at least enough to, you know, pay the bills and do your little stuff, sure, that's that's different. That's not a common thing people talk about as much. Well, is moving part-time. Maybe if you had your side hustle starts slowing down, maybe get a part-time job and move back. But, you know, go from full-time with the side hustle to part-time. And
there's probably also another factor to that. If you're working a full-time job and you're making pretty decent money, and you're working a side hustle as well that's making good money, and then what happens when you leave the full-time and you go full-time in, but it doesn't translate dollar for dollar?
Yeah, and
because you've been so used to that extra income. That's just fun money, right? Or maybe you're putting it back into the business, but now you don't have that extra fun money going back into the business. And that was partly the reason I thought about that. Okay, and as an entrepreneur, maybe you always need some type of side hustle, right? That extra little money we're funneling into something, and maybe that's part of that. Because at some point in your business, you can only put so much into it to get the same return back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, you could think, oh, if you put more hours, that is going to equate to more money. That's not always true. I've put a lot of hours into businesses that the money just didn't grow with the time investment that went with it. I could back off and stay at this level, and the money stayed. Or I could put extra time in, and the money kind of stayed the same. So some business models, they don't equate to more hours means more money always.
Well, your business is established. So assuming you have business just waiting there that you're turning down because you're so busy, you theoretically could switch to the 20-hour or switch to a part-time job and go ahead and start making extra money. Now, if you have a full-time job and that just stops you from starting your business altogether, depending on what it is, and you want to go to a part-time to start that business, that's the only way, and then that can be a lot more challenging because you have no idea. You at least know, I mean, you still have to get the business, but you technically have it, you know. You have customers, you have things you turn away or whatever, but you could make a few phone calls, and it's not guaranteed, but there are things you could do. You already have the little stuff established, because there's a lot of clerical stuff that goes in just to starting your business and creating your own spreadsheets or however you want to organize things.
Yeah, investing in programs like QuickBooks, or, you know, maybe even you need certain hardware. Maybe you need a tablet of some sort to take on jobs with you or go do estimates, or you need to upgrade your computer. You know, those are all things that you have to take into account before you make that leap as well.
And things like that, if you want little questions about making the leap, maybe you've been thinking about making the leap, whether it's starting a business or expanding your business or whatever, and maybe it's something like that, like, how am I going to keep my books or do this, and you just have a question like that, like you're ready, it's just one little thing, reach out to us. You know, we have a lot of people, we've been slowly in this whole process of this 30 episodes, probably 7, 8, 9 months. Probably about 9 months in March. When we've been getting a business and beyond army, if you will, of people. I have guys, a friend of the show who has a landscaping business he just started, and he messaged me, see if I know anybody who makes magnets, side magnets for trucks. And that's kind of out of nowhere. Other than we have Apogee Graphics, but that's not what he was asking. He wasn't even thinking about that. He was just saying, hey, do you know somebody who does this? And I find that more common. You know, we discuss all these small businesses. We claim to know a lot. And we end up knowing more than we thought we did when we were asked. We're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I do know somebody who does that actually. So if you have any questions, maybe we can refer you to
Yeah,
somebody.
we're growing that circle all the time. Anytime we come across someone that's, and if we refer you to someone, or we connect you with someone, that's someone that we trust. We're
And
not
we
going
want
to
to
steer
know
you.
how it happened.
Yeah. So
Let us know how your
if
experience
you
was.
need help, or if you want to be part of that, if you want us to help,
Yeah, reach out. We can throw
we
your
want-
name out there.
yeah, we want to, but we also want to know you. We want to get to know you. We want to get to know your business, because if we're going to put our name on it,
Yeah, just because
we
you
wanna
message me
make
on
sure.
Facebook and we're friends on Facebook doesn't mean
no,
anything.
we want to make sure your product or your service is quality and something that we can tell our listeners or tell our circle of people about.
Yeah, and we started. It can go from we started product reviews last show.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have one this episode, but if you have a product you want us to review, or just say, hey, I'm this person, I do this. Just let me know if anybody needs help.
Mm-hmm.
And it may be down the road, but we'll follow you away. We're in our mind with our circle, and there's going to be follow-up questions. Like you said, we need to get to know you, but we would love to put good people, to put our name behind some good people.
Mm-hmm. And that's a lot of what, some of the people that are a part of our inner circle have been in studio with us. Some we've met through the show, and then we've done business with. So yeah, for sure. If we're going to refer someone, it's because we trust them and we know them, and we know that you're going to get a quality product or quality service from them.
Yeah, and one of those we discussed earlier was Anthony.
Yeah,
and he's made some big leaps.
He has.
Recently.
He's been on the show with us last year. It was our first big debut interview we had on the show. I think that was a 3-hour interview we had with him. But his business is Hawks Event Rental Services, and he does party rentals, water slides. He now this year's added tables and chairs. I think soon to be he's going to add table decorations. So
all the little stuff, but what's the big draw?
The big draw, the gaming trailer.
We're gonna
that's
get
the big
that
draw.
for our kids' parties.
Yeah, we got to get with him. We got to get that booked quick, man, because he is booking up fast. So anyone in this year, 2021, you guys need anything, tables and chairs, water slides. That's a big one. He's added tons of water slides this off season. This summer is going to be huge for him. Make sure you get on his calendar because it is booking up fast. You can look him up on Facebook at Hawks Event Rental Services, or you can reach out to him. His number is 817-707-6373. Make sure when you reach out to him, let him know that you heard about it on this, because not that we get anything from that, we just want him to know that it's working, working through us, that we're sending him customers and that we're helping out. We're doing everything we can.
Yeah, and
build his business.
we want to know when we help.
Yeah, absolutely.
We may act like we put 100% into the show, and we do, but there's a lot of times in between episodes, especially when we miss a week or two. A lot of motivation sometimes is I'm not gonna say lost, but it gets dragged. It's a lot of times we're looking forward to the next show, can't wait to do it. Sometimes we get busy, and we're like, man, we got to do a show soon. We got to get something going, and it helps out motivation-wise when we hear that we're helping people, or when you ask us for help.
Yeah, absolutely.
We just like to know somebody's there and listening and is hearing what we say and wants to help out what we're doing. And also something I want to say when you're saying about Hawks Event Rental Service is in this era of COVID and pandemic, he is very good at cleaning. He was already good at cleaning, but he started showing videos.
He's still going
and
above
pictures
and beyond. He's sanitizing, he's cleaning, masks. I mean, he's going above and beyond to make sure every unit that you rent from him is cleaned properly, sanitized properly, and you can be assured that he's taken all the steps and all the measures that he needs to.
And talking about leaps, he's really grown in 2020, going into 2021.
Yes.
Even though pandemic, he's an event rental service.
Yeah.
That's some of the first ones that went, and not only did he not go away, he he stayed.
kept
He
pushing
went stronger. Every weekend I was seeing him post stuff. I'm like, well,
he figured it
doing
out.
good,
He,
yeah.
he maneuvered around. He figured it out, and he figured out in the downtime that he had to figure out what he can do to grow. What else do my customers want? And that's the biggest thing is, I mean, he had a gaming trailer to start, and then he added water slides, and then he adds tables and chair rentals. So he's listening to his customers. He knows what the customers want. And because you would look at that and you're like, that's kind of weird that a gaming trailer guy, like, they would branch out and go get water slides,
that's
right?
like that's what you want to do. I'm sure at first you never thought he was going to do all that.
Exactly.
You're like, once you got that bread and butter, then all of a sudden he's doing tables and chairs.
More, now
and,
he's been
like,
teasing the table. I don't know just the decorations, the place settings for tables and stuff that he can rent out as well. Table covers, chair covers. He's been teasing that will be coming later this year. I mean, that's just, he's going above and beyond for his customers because that's what the customers want. That's how you build a substantial business.
Speaking of which, if you want to join Jeff when he was asking us what we were drinking, if you have any questions for us, if you want us to cover certain topics or just say hi, reach out to us and let us know. All of our information along with Fox Event Rental Service will be in the description box, whether your podcast.
Like you said, if there's
YouTube,
any products you want us to review, even if it's not your product, just something that you guys say, hey, I've really been thinking about this product, have you guys know anything about it, or hey, let us know. Maybe we can find out.
Maybe you're a business and you want to make a leap to buy something, and you just want to find out, like you've read reviews and you know how reviews are, because
maybe we know enough people we can get our hands on a product to get it in studio to review for you.
Yeah,
and we can test it
and
out.
you can trust us. It's not like we see 1 star, this product's crap. You see 5 stars, this is the best thing ever.
No,
like you don't know where to trust some random.
Yeah, no,
we're here. We're real. We're
going to give you honest opinions. It's not the 1 star to 5 star. We're just going to tell you, hey, this is good. This is crap.
That might be a good bit. Do our stars, and then when I give you my official star, it pops up on the screen in YouTube. Maybe not.
Oh, like our predictions of.
Yeah, something like that. This is a 5 star. Like build it up to the end, and
maybe
that's something. There's something there. Maybe.
Hey, getting back to the what we were talking about making the jump to entrepreneurship, and I know we always like to talk percentages, right? Like that's always a fun thing to throw out, and whether statistics or these percentages are always correct, but one that I've found in multiple places and it has coincided is 51% of Americans are interested in being self-employed, and that's a pretty staggering number that over half of America wants to be self-employed.
Well, like we were talking about before you do all the research and make the leap, it sounds like a great idea. Yeah, I'd love to be my own boss. Pick your hours. Now, although that doesn't really work how you think it is, but
no, because running your own business is not less hours. It could be more flexible, but it could be a lot of late nights. It could be a lot of sleepless nights. I know
phone ringing on weekends, vacations.
Yeah, the 2 years that I was, running my business myself. My busy time, like the real busy time for me, was late after everyone, the kids and my wife went to bed, and I would stay up and I would do all my computer work, all my banking work, my designs, invoicing, all of that work happened at night. And then I would get to bed late, and then bam, back up early in the morning because I had a job to go do. I had print work to get done. Same thing. Physical work all through the day. At night, it was all the computer work. And it was tough. But like you said, it can be rewarding as well when you have that flexibility. Because in the middle of the day, I could say, okay, I'm going to stop and I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go grab lunch, or I'm going to, hey, you know what? I got to go pick up materials. I'm going to go take a couple hours and I'm going to drive to the supply house. Instead of ordering it in, I'm going to run to the supply house. I'm going to pick everything up that I need, and then I can drive back and just get out.
Yeah.
Right? And that gave me the opportunity to go, and at that time, that was really big, dropping business cards. Now, especially through COVID, you don't see as much business card swapping, which we'll get to that in a minute too. But I would try to get out and do a lot of that, and that was always fun for me. Just getting out of the office midday, getting out of the shop midday was always cool. And that flexibility for me, that was what I wanted. The hours isn't what bothers me. It's just I want that flexibility. And especially now, like, I I have a 13-year-old son who's in middle school, about to go into high school, plays just about every sport. I want that flexibility and time to just be able to stop and go to his games.
Yeah.
Stop and go pick him up from practice, or be able to go to a practice, and just sit. Like I want that flexibility. For me, that's what it is. It's not about making all the crazy money. That doesn't matter to me. The hours don't bother me. Putting in 80, 100 hours a week, like that doesn't scare me at all. I'll go on just a few hours sleep. I'll work Saturdays and Sundays. That doesn't bother me, but it's that flexibility I want.
Yeah.
I don't want to be locked down.
Yeah, and that's really what draws people to being their own boss. But I'd be interested to see that 51%. They just go up to random people or
and
ask them,
too,
would you want to be your own
So
boss?
other than what we talked about is the time, flexibility, or the money, being scared about the money leap, like what else keeps people from chasing their dreams like that?
Other people telling them it's not a great idea.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you do things the right way, and on paper it looks like, okay, yeah, you go start a business, but so many, you read stories or listen to interviews about how they started their business.
Yeah.
And like I was talking about that one lady who started pencil things, I believe her father committed suicide or something, so she just moved to New York, like from the Midwest. Because she knew she wanted to live in New York her whole life.
Mm-hmm.
That's what she did. And then she went to
Finally,
college, and she just started. Yeah.
She said, "Fuck it, I'm
Yeah,
going
and
I'm doing it."
this whole thing, you're like, and the guy's even talking because he's like an economist or something, and he said, man, if you'd been asking my advice on any part of this in your life, I would tell you, no, that's the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not condoning that. I mean, do your research and make the best educated decision, but it's not always that, and people are going to tell you, no, you have a good job, you make good money, you're going to have a good life, that's, stick with that. And lots of people have left great jobs and started their business and they don't regret it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have done it and regret it. But
I think one thing is the regret. You brought that up, and it's the fear and regret that as soon as you can get aside of that and not be scared to fail is when you're going to be successful.
yeah,
If you can jump out there and understand, hey, this isn't working, and you fail, and you can move on and move past from that, I think that...
it's good to have a backup plan. I know a lot of companies...
Or even just that plan, and just not be scared to fail and get back on your feet and keep pushing along with your plan.
Yeah.
And make it work. Because when I went back full-time into the business, being full-time out of doing graphics and then back to a full-time job, I couldn't continue to handle the workload that I was doing before, so I was turning away a lot of work. For a while, it was like I wasn't even in business anymore. I wasn't taking any work on.
Yeah.
Starting a new job. So, in essence, that was kind of a failure, right? You look back, I lost all those customers. A couple of them I did retain through the years, and still to this day. But you do lose a lot of those customers. And so at a point, that was a failure, right? And I could have said, hey, you know what? I failed, didn't work. I'll do something else.
Yeah.
But I didn't. That's fine. Failure, whatever. We're going to keep pushing through it. I'm going to build it again. And I'm going to rebrand it, and we're going to make it to where it was tenfold. It's going to be something big. And that's the mindset you have to have. You have to, if you want that, and it's all about...
Yeah, owning your own business isn't for the faint of heart.
No, it's not. And it depends on how much you're willing to put into it. And, it's this right here. It's hard. That's what makes or breaks. Are you going to put all your whole heart into it?
Yeah, because it's cool, it's trendy to be an entrepreneur and have your own business, and like you said, people are afraid to say it's their side hustle or their side thing, whatever you want to coin the term, or talk to it, call it. But those things are like that these days in COVID, and I think we pretty much covered it.
Yeah,
mainly fear.
Yeah,
is what stops you, or not having confidence, other people.
Mm-hmm.
But really, to sum it all up and answer your question, when do you know when to make the leap? Only you know.
Yeah.
Just do all the research you can, market research, figure it out, talk to people, have, it helps to have, like you've had people, family and friends to help you out basically for free in most cases.
Yeah.
Do little stuff to help you out where you have work that you couldn't hire a part-time employee to do, but you just weren't set up to hire somebody under you.
Right. Well, since we don't have a product review this week, there is something I want to talk about. We just talked about it briefly. Is the business cards, and something I've done myself, and what I think is a good viable option nowadays, especially with technology, is a digital business card. I don't know if you use anything like this, but using the QR codes, which were a thing back when I was running business. QR codes had started to become something, and I was using those, and we were printing a lot of
I
those.
just know those are at restaurants now. Those are menus.
Exactly. But so before you had to have a special app. Now the phones, now the phones are designed that you pull up your camera. Just pull up a camera. Just hold your camera up in front of it. It'll go.
I don't know if you can get a good look at it.
So it should pop it up.
There it goes.
Now it says add to contacts, right?
Yeah, well, you're already a contact on mine, but yes.
But, yeah, so you scan that, and it's going to give you, and we'll hold this up here so anyone that, and go ahead and...
So scan it right now and get Tony's contact.
You may be able to scan
if you're on YouTube.
You may be able to scan that on YouTube and get it to work if I can get it centered up. But then that adds...
It brings it up. You don't have to type anything in.
You don't have to type anything. You hit add to contacts. It's got my website, my email, phone number. Everything's built into this.
iTunes, iPhone, avatar, little person.
Well,
you're already on my phone.
I think it might have used my logo. I don't remember exactly how I set it up.
I have it set up as your, but I have an iPhone too. So
yeah, I don't know as far as that part of it, but yeah. So in these things now, and if anyone that doesn't know how the QR code works, any of your smart devices.
Is that an app you downloaded or anything? Or
what is that?
Or to set that up, or the QR works?
I don't remember exactly. I went on one of the online free QR code makers, and I downloaded it, and then I put this into my program, and then created my own with my logo at the top of it.
I got you.
Like that. But there's tons of free QR code
I
websites.
know there's an option on my phone where it says business card. You can click on it and type all your information. I didn't know maybe that was...
Maybe it generates. You know what? That's something we'll have to look into, but that's something I think for businesses is really great. And one, it saves you a lot of money on business cards. Because, really, I have stacks of business cards people give me, and I don't really look at them.
Yeah.
For me,
it saves a little bit of money. But
what I would do is I would look at the card, and I might type all the information and put it into my phone. But if it was something I could scan it, and maybe that's something even if you're still going to continue to carry business cards, is you look at adding that QR code with all your contact information on the QR, because the QR codes you can build them however you want. You can have it where they scan it, it takes them to a website, it takes them to your store. I just happen to create mine as a virtual business card, a V card.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up creating it like that so that it just adds all my contact information, which is my website and email and everything in one location. So, and that's something we could put on our website or anything. I could put it on my email signature. So that if you're looking at it on a computer or another device, you can scan it, add my contact info directly to your phone. So that's just something I wanted to share this week that I've started to use. And I know a lot of people, this isn't new technology, but a lot of people have started using it. Someone like our friend Anthony, maybe he may have something like this, or could use that QR code on his game trailer. Maybe he could send them somewhere to book, or
that's why I was just thinking. I was thinking there's somewhere in advertising for that. Whether I don't know where it'd save a lot of money, like a newspaper or website where you have certain size. Like instead of typing all your information in.
Yeah, scan it to where you can put your contact info, or take you directly to their Facebook page, website, whatever it is, directly.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea because people just drive by, they see a party happening, like, oh, hey, look, there's a name limit, instead of
taking a picture and later trying to look it up.
Instead of, that saves money, him putting all that information on the side of his trailer and, material and decal material. You just do your normal stuff, but you don't put phone numbers and all that.
Every bit of the information.
Contact info right there.
And then if your contact info changes, you just go change and download a new QR code.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I think that's pretty much does it for episode 30. Man, that sounds like it's got to be episode 20. That's what it seems like. Are we really at episode 30?
Well, cheers to 30, right?
I got a little water left.
We'll see you guys next time.
I'm Ashton.